Refresh is the name of the game. Sony is taking a second stab at delivering a flagship Xperia for 2016. The X performance left us underwhelmed. So let's see if the Xperia XZ can at least get us up to whelmed, if not excited. First, for you hardware junkies, you can pause the video now to see what the XZ is packing. And getting that out of the way, Sony's made another attractive slab of a phone here. New for the XZ, some gentle curves around corners and edges. It's softer for a Sony, but still represents one of the more modern and sharp-edged looks for any current smartphone. As someone with smaller hands, it's always nice picking up a premium device with a medium-sized screen, though taller forehead and chin bezels keep it from feeling petite. This phone feels better pieced together than our X Performance review unit, but there are still a lot of seams for a unibody device. A backplate, edges, and we're assuming radio antennas probably live down here. This 5.2-inch LCD isn't one of the brighter displays we've reviewed, and resolution is only clocking in at 1080p. Again, Full HD is perfectly usable, but at this price point the XZ is battling brighter, higher resolution displays from many competitors. We also have to address the fingerprint issue. In the United States, the scanner hardware is included, but it's software disabled. For those savvier members of our audience, you can flash different software to activate it. But this is not something we think users should have to perform to correct Sony's issues. So, as far as we're concerned for this review, this phone doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. This is the first Xperia with a USB Type-C connector though, which we're happy to see. It's maybe a bit embarrassing how quickly I've gotten spoiled by a symmetrical connector and how cranky I get these days when I need to track down a micro USB cable. Now, some of this layout is just a bit funky compared to what most people might be used to, like the really low-mounted volume rocker, or the front-facing NFC. Yeah, I left the sticker on. On the last Xperia we reviewed, I kept forgetting it was here. It'll be familiar to the Sony faithful though, and we'll always be fans of hardware camera shutter buttons. Now moving to software, Sony's custom UI touches are subtle. We're mostly stock adjacent here, some extra organization options in the app drawer, a more colorful settings menu, and some custom Sony services pre-installed. Though, at the end of the year, we have been spoiled by recent experiences with Android 7 Nougat, where the XZ is still on Marshmallow, so we're hoping this phone gets updated soon. It is a snappy performer sliding through the user interface. No surprises there with a Qualcomm 820 chipset on board. It's not going to take any performance crowns, but it's a more than capable daily driver. This is well understood hardware, and for most titles, the phone performs well. But looking at a game like Future Fight, which isn't particularly well optimized for Android, we're definitely seeing stutters and dropped frames. Wi-Fi performance is leaner than several of the metal-backed phones we've recently reviewed, falling behind the LG V20 and Huawei Mate 9. This phone struggles to reach my router at the edges of my Wi-Fi reception. Now, LTE performance is similar, falling behind our Galaxy S7 and Mate 9 on AT&T, and just edging out the HTC 10. It's not poor performance, but it's not the best. Speaker performance is solid though. Sony's been turning out competitive phone speakers for years, and the XZ continues to represent well against other stereo solutions, especially considering this is a water-resistant device. The headphone story though, still isn't much improved from the X Performance. These quality numbers are hovering nearly identically with the Galaxy S7. It's a somewhat weak amp with mid-pack noise floor and dynamic range performance. While we don't hear anything here to suggest that Sony will be improving their audiophile reputation anytime soon. And we've gotten numerous requests to produce a real camera review, but even for the additional sensors, we just don't see where this is significantly different than what we experienced with the Xperia X and X Performance. Where we do see improvements, the focusing system is far less confrontational, and the newer object tracking really does help you stay locked onto your subject. We're happy to see a better layout for manual options. This is usable now, and really comes in handy when auto modes let you down. And 4K video recording returns, which was a horrible oversight for the X Performance. Still, for having some of the best camera hardware we've ever seen, Sony's software leaves a lot to be desired. Moving between modes is painfully slow, and often you tap or swipe with zero response, or enough of a delay that you go to reswipe and the camera skips the mode you want. Intelligent auto mode regularly misses the exposure which would best fit your subject, and you still feel like you're fighting this app more than using it to actually create something. If you're going to rely mostly on auto camera modes, this shooter has a tough time competing against the iPhone and the Pixel. Video can be captured in a higher resolution, but in 4K mode, you can't focus. It's all full auto. And why is the 4K mode a separate internal app from the rest of the camera? Why can't I just change the resolution in the video settings? Whew, the image stabilization doesn't seem to be much improved either. When trying to hold still using the intelligent stabilization, there's still a lot of twitch. And we just can't ignore that Xperia's run hot. After recording 7 minutes of HD video in an air-conditioned room, we got an overheating warning telling us that features were being disabled. Now, we've linked our XPERIA X performance camera review in the description below for folks who want to dig deeper, but Sony probably won't be topping our list of best cameras for 2016. Using a slightly smaller 2,900 mAh capacity, we wouldn't be surprised to see leaner performance, but the XZ runs really lean with moderate use. On our media test streaming 30 minutes of HD video over Wi-Fi at 190 lux, we drained 9% of this battery, one of the poorer performers we've run this year. And that is reflected in daily use, where it was difficult making it to dinner time without a recharge. Shooting some camera samples drained this phone significantly faster. The recharge story is also a bit disappointing. 30 minutes on a Sony charger resulted in a 22% top-off. Certainly not the speediest. You can get a little jump from a short stint plugged in, but for a slightly smaller battery, we were hoping to see faster charging to compensate. So let's wrap this up. Where does that leave us with the Sony XPERIA XZ? Judged by our previous experiences with Sony this year, this is a significant improvement. This feels a lot more like a proper flagship and a truer successor to the XPERIA Z. It also seems like Sony is reacting to the market a bit more aggressively, cutting the price of this phone unlocked to $599. It's still an expensive device, which rightfully has difficulties competing directly against HTC 10s and Galaxy S7s after recent price drops, but we'll still call this progress. Ultimately, weighing what this phone has to offer in this tier, it's still a tricky recommendation. We think this will play better with XPERIA Z fans looking to upgrade and stay under this Sony umbrella. But folks coming from other manufacturers, well, there might be better options for your cash. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more reviews like these and help us out with some sharing on your favorite social networks. For Pocketnow, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy on Twitter and Instagram, and I will catch you all on the next review.